Hello, hello, and welcome back. Have another amazing episode with another fantastic guest. And I'm so excited to have her here because we're going to be talking all things AI. We are going to be talking a little bit about what's in the background behind her there because that's super exciting. But without further ado, I would love for you to introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, what you're all about, and what you're so passionate about.
Thank you, Lindsay. I am Georgia Mountford Blake. I am passionate about a lot of things, but I guess if I try to shorten the list, AI is higher up on that list. Computing in general, tech in general. I got my own first computer when I was 7. I put that in little quotes because my dad was and is a software engineer, and he was repairing friends' computers and was kind of accumulating bits and pieces of broken machines until he could build a machine. And I've just been playing video games. I've been figuring out how to do voice to text and all this kind of stuff since I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s. I don't want to date myself exactly, but I've been doing something on the computer, something on the internet, like whatever it is, if I can get my hands on learning how to connect things together, how to make stuff work. I feel a bit like those, you hear about those people who always take train sets apart and then learn to put them back together. It's like that, only digital. It's not really the hardware side of stuff for me. It's the software and the technology. And like now that's the AI. It's like, how does this connect to everything else that we're doing? And that's one interest, right? Is this huge tech umbrella, and that kind of touches everything. But then I also have this background in journalism and writing. I've wanted since I think the first job I ever said I wanted was an author, in kindergarten around the little cross-legged on the rug. What do you want to be when you grow up? Absolutely. I still want my retirement dream is a cottage on this cliff looking the sea, and I'm writing novels. And that these two things kind of seem at first contradictory, even before now. Like now, there's a lot of pressure that I see in both those two industries. There's kind of conflict between the writers and the artists and the technologists and the people in AI. But even before that, people were like, what are you doing studying journalism and computer science? Like those things don't sound like they go together. And that kind of sums me up, I guess, is that I have all these really different interests that I don't think are that different. I do see how they connect. I do feel like coding is creative, and I do feel like writing can be strategic and procedural. And I love exploring things, learning things, trying things. And then the second I feel like a little light bulb goes off in my head about how something works or how something can be done better or faster or easier, I immediately want to share it. And there's that kind of like teacher energy in me too, which I don't want to jump too far ahead to the pole thing, but I've been teaching pole as well for a long time. That came out of left field for me. It wasn't something that was, I did do performance arts. I did sign up for like after school programs doing physical theater and doing improv comedy. And like I was on stage and I liked to perform in that way, but I never was a good dancer at all. I was so uncoordinated, always forgetting the choreo, just not flexible, not strong, not any of the things that you think you need to be to pole. But I took it up for fun and it changed my life. And so all these things like swirl constantly. And I get excited when I meet people that are similarly chaotic, maybe in the things that they're interested in and trying to achieve. And given the topic of today, AI, I am extremely excited about how we can use this new tool, this technology, to bring all these things that we think maybe are different, or that we don't have time to do everything, or that we can't organize our thoughts and how it all connects. AI actually is like this magic sauce to make all of these things that I feel people are on the precipice of achieving or connecting actually a reality. So that's what I'm here to try and talk about.
I love it. I love it. There's so many things in there that we need to talk about, which is why this is going to be an amazing conversation. So first of all, as you're describing your retirement, sitting on, in the cottage, writing your book, because of course I do AI imaging for visualization. I'm like instant. I'm like, oh, I got to make that for you. That's going to look so cool. But the other part of that is I love what you said about the creativity and the technology kind of bringing it together. Because for me, I love to write. That's not something I've always done. I was kind of like you. I want to be an author when I was a little kid. But other than that, I don't really have a lot of creativity in me. I really don't. But once I started doing AI images and working with an AI, my creativity was just like soaring through the, like, I call it playing. I always say I'm playing with AI, I'm playing with images. And I love that you are talking about AI and creativity because there is a big conversation going on about, is it taking it away from people's jobs and this? And I actually disagree. And I know you and I have a similar, conversation about that. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. So I love that concept. But I also, this idea of, multiple things from multiple areas. And I think as entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners, women, we tend to have 150 things going on in our brain at one time, right? I want to do this. 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 And so I love that we're going to touch upon AI and kind of how we can bring that. Because I do know when I speak to a lot of people, like it's overwhelming for us. Like my brain, I'm like, nobody wants to be in there sometimes because it's just like all over the place. So helping that is also another really great thing. And then of course the pole dancing and the pole classes. Just we were talking when we first met, and I've done some pole, and I couldn't believe the muscles that I didn't know I had and how bad they felt after that. But for me, of course, health and fitness and movement is such a huge part of everything I talk about when it comes to business, because I truly believe having your health should be a business strategy. Whatever your business is, your health is the fundamental foundation of it. Because if you are sick, if anyone's been there, if you're diagnosed with something, your business is going to suffer. So if we can get our health as part of our business strategy, I believe that's going to be what's going to help us long term. And then lastly, I do everything for my 80-year-old self. I want to get up and off the toilet by myself. I want to be independent, mobile for as long as possible. So I truly believe all of these pieces flow nicely. So even though it's like it feels kind of like jagged and segmented and stuff, it's not. It all comes together in this beautiful way. So, all right, let's start here. So let's talk let's talk about how the creativity of AI came for you. So I know you said you were, doing computer things from way before you even, or could have, should have been doing computer things, whatever you want to say there. But AI has been around for a while. It's definitely gotten popular in the last kind of 6 to 12 months. But what was kind of that very first, introduction to it, and what kind of sparked from that?
Okay, well, it was ChatGPT for me, like a lot of people. And I will kind of preface that or put a disclaimer around it in that I have, as someone who studied computer science, I had been exposed to machine learning and to sort of maybe old-fashioned AI, if you will, prior to the kind of big explosion that happened around 2022. And so when I heard about this, things like GPT. It was a phrase I'd heard of, an acronym that I remembered from somewhere in a textbook or something. But I didn't really actually have very much tangible, practical knowledge of AI. I had gone down a different route with the software development and then design, and then kind of anyway, we can talk about all of the things I did in tech separately. But ChatGPT came and hit the scene when I was working, and I still am, as a consultant in small business, helping people with their marketing and their tech and their automations and their like business ops and all this kind of thing. And I do often struggle to articulate how I help people, because it is, where are you stuck? Like, let's get you unblocked. I'm a systems thinker. And then the solution might be in marketing and messaging, or it might be in spreadsheets and templates, or it might be in, who knows. So I was there as a consultant, and I'm seeing people talking about ChatGPT. So I'm like, well, I better go try it out, see what it is. Maybe I recommend it to my clients and things. And one of the very early sparks was just the conversational interface. That's really what I feel was the leap forward, because we've had these conversation having machines before, like GPT-1, 2, then 3, then 3.5, then 4. Up until about 3, they weren't that great. They were using them in maybe certain kinds of role-playing video games where they want the NPCs to come up with something to say, or it was there maybe in chatbots when you would talk to a service, like try and ring up your telecom provider or something, and there's a really annoying chatbot that doesn't understand what you're asking for. Like, those were early GPTs. And suddenly, though, the conversation was working and it was understanding stuff. And that immediately was like, wow, this is now going to replace. This is my first thought, like in the shower, telling my husband this. I'm like, listen, just the fact that people don't have to learn an app and figure out where to point and click and understand toolbars and systems and like suddenly they can just say, hey, I need a PDF made, or can you explain this concept? Can you teach me how to do this? Can you change the color of it? Like just the fact that we could tell a computer what to do in natural language, that alone, I feel, just explodes the accessibility for what people can do. Because that's the kind of stuff I was trying to help people with all the time. It's like, oh, this tool's not so difficult. Here, I'll teach you. Or this thing doesn't need to be done manually. Actually, you could connect this through this other integration service. And I was constantly trying to show people what's possible. And then along comes this thing where you don't need to know what's possible. You just get to say, I'm trying to do ABC. And that just blew my mind and still gives me goosebumps about how much that opens up things that I'll say take for granted. That's not really quite true, but things that I've had the privilege of the ability, the skill set to be able to do things maybe online that people don't realize is possible, like something, maybe a mundane example, migrating from one e-commerce or learning management platform to another. Like you're going to do Kajabi to Thinkific or something, and people get very tangled in this, like they have to kind of reinvent the whole catalog and re-upload all the images. And I was like, wait, there's faster ways. You can export data, you can process it, you can use tools even if they don't have an inbuilt export function, and so on and so forth. These things now that used to stop people are just dissolving away because you just get to say to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whatever you want to use, I'm trying to migrate systems. How can I make it easier? And suddenly things that I know because I've had a background in software, now everyone gets to know and do. And that just feels amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And it's funny because I always joke that I'm not the IT help desk in our family, right? I like I'll be like to my husband, I don't know, like help me. So when people constantly say to me, "Oh, well, I'm not techie or I don't do this," I'm like, that's the beauty of this. You don't have to. When I first started learning the AI images, yeah, you have to have a little bit of understanding, but it's not hard to pick up. It's not like what you were doing, in the system side of things. I just recently moved from a Mac that I've had for 15 years back to a Windows. And I went into ChatGPT and I was like, okay, so I am moving from a Mac to a Windows. This is, and asked all my questions, and it popped out how to do it. And it didn't feel nearly as overwhelming anymore. And so I can appreciate what you're saying because you have all this knowledge and this experience. So you're like, well, it's not that hard. Where somebody like me is like, what are you even talking about? Of course it's hard. And so it's this beautiful kind of mix of now you are able to do some things that you never thought was possible. And we had this conversation before. It's like, you've been in this AI world. I've been in this AI world. I feel like everybody knows AI. But yet then I went to a networking event yesterday and, people don't know AI at all. And so when you think about small businesses, which I know where you sit, is some people have never heard of it and are a little nervous about it or whatever. And it's like, there are so many possibilities when it comes to AI. So I guess my next question is going to be, so I have people come to me often, and even in this networking group I was in last night, where they were saying, there's so much. I mean, you just said, Claude, Storm, there's Gemini, there's Grok, like there's, we know. But when somebody doesn't know, they're like, where do I even begin? So I guess one of the things I like to speak to when I'm speaking to AI experts is, what do you say to somebody who comes to you and is like, I know there's 1,005 things that I should be doing right now. Where do I start?
That is a brilliant question. Sometimes I'll ask follow-up questions to give a really specific a tool. Like, are you trying to, like, what are you doing generally in your life? Are you studying? Are you a student? Are you a business owner? Like sometimes some of these things, are you an artist? They can point me in the right direction. One example being my younger sister, who is now at university. She was here helping me, actually. I brought her from Australia to Seattle to do an internship in my business because I was like, I need help. And she's like, hey, I'm not at uni yet. I've got a break. And so I brought her here and I was using AI in my business. And I was like, hey, can you quickly do this? Can you quickly do the other? And she's like, oh, I keep hearing like you're not supposed to use AI. And at university, they don't want, like, they're worried about AI plagiarism and all this stuff. Like, is it safe? And after she used it a bunch of times, she's like, oh, I get it. Like, I see why they're scared, to be fair. But also, I see how to use it properly. And then the tool for her was she uses Notebook LM. So that is a Google product. And you upload study notes, you upload research papers, you upload articles, whatever. You give it source material about subject matter, and it then discusses that in an intellectual way or in an accessible way or whatever kind of way you want to prompt it, as if it's a podcast and it's two people talking to each
Love
other
it.
about that thing. And she's just like, wow, that blew my mind because I have all this required reading to do. And I try to, and I do even read it, but it still doesn't sink in. But then when I'm listening to these podcast hosts explaining the topic and having banter, literally, they're like laughing and they're taking breaths and they're getting things wrong and correcting each other. And it's really human. Just being able to go for a walk outside in nature, listen to this solidifies that. And it's like a different way to access information. So where to start depends on what you're doing. If you're studying, then please check out Notebook LM. Otherwise, a really good generic one, a catch-all is something like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. They're all basically a conversation interface. So AI comes in so many forms now. You know, you could be in Canva and there's a little cute button with magic wand and some sparkles, and it's going to generate an image. Or there's something in a spreadsheet. You're using Google Sheets or Excel, and there's an AI menu about creating tables. Like it's all kind of everywhere and inbuilt. But if you don't know where to start, then just that conversation interface where you just have nothing but a text box where you type in and then an empty screen where its replies come at you. That's what ChatGPT is, and what Claude and Gemini are as well. They are just different people's versions of it. You've got OpenAI as one company, Anthropic, who do Claude. They're a great one actually to try if you are nervous about some of the more ethical issues or sustainability issues and environmental things, because Anthropic as a company is quite focused on building in a responsible way the tools, but they're all effectively under the hood of the same thing. They're this chatbot that you get to type in a box and see what it says back. And I would just start there. I would just type into the box something about yourself, what you do, what you're stuck on, and ask it, whoops, ask it how it can help, because the solutions are that custom and tailored. Like I'm generating content, I'm brainstorming ideas, I am turning things into different formats, I'm extracting data from somewhere, I'm working through my schedule for the day, like anything really. And it all just starts somewhere, and you got to kind of just find something. Recipes is a good one that people find as an entry point. Dumping, like voice note dumping all the things you have to do for the day and asking it to turn it into a bit of an action plan, something like that. Try and find a pain point, try and find a bit of friction in your day and just ask a chatbot how it can help you.
Yeah, I love that. It's so interesting. I have another guest coming on in a few weeks, and she's using AI as a mom. And that's her whole thing. It's like, as a mom, how do we organize our day? How do we organize our kids? How do we organize our schedule? And so it really is limitless. And I love that. But I also understand that some people can get very overwhelmed by all the things. But I love what you said, where it's like, start with, I had a client to turn around into ChatGPT and just said, I am brand new to AI. What is the best way to start? And it's so interesting, the information that comes up, because of course it asks questions, right? That's the beauty of it. It's that conversation piece back. But everybody's going to be very different, right? What I use AI for and you use AI for and everybody else does, it's different. But there's usually, back in the day where they're like, there's an app for that. Like that's how I feel with AI, right? There is definitely something for whatever it is you're looking for. And I love that about that. So let's talk a second about your passion about, and we talked a little bit before I pressed record, and I don't want to say it incorrectly. So I'm going to bring it back to you to say what it was that we were talking about when it comes to the big kind of the passion that lies behind who you want to help when it comes to business, AI, that combination.
Yeah, for me, it is the underdog or the rebel or the misunderstood. It is the disadvantaged, the marginalized. Like call us them what you will. I want to help people use AI to level the playing field, because there are so many amazing women and minority groups in business or in maybe movements, like in community kind of spaces, doing nonprofits, trying to change the world, doing organizations. It doesn't have to be a business thing, but there are so many people that I feel are already on the back foot in society. There's more hurdles for them to get past, to get their voice heard or to get traction on their idea. And those are the people that I'm trying to bring AI to, because I guess I feel connected to them because I was teased a lot as a child and I struggled through school with I did have friends, but I felt like I didn't have friends. I felt like I was the loner and the weirdo, and I was always the one in the library and in the computer labs. And so anyone who is kind of on the edges and on the left out, on the outskirts, I just immediately feel like we're friends. And so I have spent my whole life around all these different groups of people. Pole dancing exposed me to a lot of groups of people that prior to that, I had kind of that stereotypical image of burlesque performers or sex workers as somehow scandalous or maybe heathen in some way. And once I met them, I was like, oh, it's not at all like what society was telling me. This sex, drugs, and rock and roll world is pretty cool and like fun and safe and nice. And so then I started working with these people, helping them. This is pre-AI, helping them with their websites or their marketing and their messaging and their systems and stuff. And then I'm like, well, I just kind of built a skill set of working around the things that often get in the way for people who don't fit the norm. And in the case of pole dancing and then meeting people who are in burlesque and cam girls and all this kind of thing, it was then they had advertising restrictions. There's a lot of legal constraints around what they're allowed to say and wear and stuff. So I just started learning that. And then I moved to Seattle, and here cannabis is legal. So then I'm, consulting with people about how to do CBD bake sales and advertise that on Instagram. Like, how is it allowed? How do you do it if it's allowed, and so on, without getting banned, ideally. So my skill set kind of got just like honed in towards this area of people who have more struggles that are imposed upon them. How can I help free them from these constraints? And that's what I was doing with marketing and technology and systems. And now AI is just like one more tool, I guess, in my arsenal to try to elevate the people that honestly I believe are the ones changing the world and are progressing things forward in a positive way. I think the people on the edges and on the fringe of what's normal or allowed or whatever, they are so used to pushing the boundaries and testing things and challenging things and like dealing with friction that of course they're the ones well placed when a new technology comes along. Like it's in your blood already, like you're good at this kind of stuff. So I want to just really help put that in their hands and show them how they can use it to do whatever amazing world changing work that they are doing.
Yeah, I love that so much. I love that so much because I know when you and I first met, we started with the poll, and then we moved from that to what the conversation we just had, and there's so much possibility, and I think oftentimes people get hit, and I know even in my business group and some of my business colleagues and stuff, they get stuck because there are rules and words and things that you're not allowed to say. We have sex coaches and relationship coaches now, and we have orgasm coaches and all of these different things where you try to put something like that on Facebook and it's like, you're out. Like, no, thank you. We don't want that conversation and on our Facebook. And so I think it's amazing that your goal is to help out, because so much of that is so valuable, right? I mean, let's be honest, as women, who doesn't want to have an orgasm coach? Like, who doesn't want to have these things? And, as I look at your bar behind you, like, who doesn't want to feel sexy as hell while they're working their body, and like all of these beautiful things that come together. And then to be able to support them. And I think that's such a beautiful thing because, oftentimes when we get hit with these struggles, which, as you kind of mentioned it, when you were little and you get hit with these things, it really does make us stronger. But sometimes it also kicks us out the door, and then we just are like, well, we can't do that anymore. It's not worth it anymore. And so, I work with a photographer who does like the boudoir photos, and it's this empowering thing where you just feel so amazing. And so we've been talking a little bit about how to do that from an AI image perspective, right? Like, photographers were a little iffy. Some of them still are about the AI images, but what I've really tried to encourage them to understand is just think of the possibilities, right? No longer do you have to go to that person. You can create this and you can make somebody feel as powerful that every time you do a boudoir session, and now you don't even have to technically leave your home. So let's talk about how to do it. And, she loved that. But those are the things that, if you had a picture on your Facebook where people would probably, judge a little, and that's kind of, shitty. But at the same time, that's just very much the society that we live in. Depending on where you are, you're in the US now, but Australia is a little different. I'm from Canada, but in Mexico, over in Europe, they don't care about certain things. And so it's this whole kind of mishmash of it. And I just think it's fantastic that you're supporting kind of that underdog. And like you say, it could just be, a woman. It could be somebody who's doing CBD. It could be somebody who's looking into, the pole dancing, or, the boudoir or whatever. It's kind of like those things that we don't talk about. I would even say money was on that for a really long time. Sex was on that for a really long time, right? All of these things. And it's just like, no, let's talk about this. Let's get this out there. And then you can support them on how to do that. So I love that so much. All right, leeway into, let's talk about the poll. I love that it's in, I'm assuming this is like your office. You got a poll in there.
Yes, this
Is
is
this
this is my sunroom slash dance room slash office. Yeah.
I love it. So do you just every once in a while just grab a hold and do a spin?
I genuinely do. So I'm on a standing desk and I can move this out of the way a little bit, and I will find I put some music on to get me pumped to do some work. And before I know it, I'm kind of like just up against this, kind of like grinding a little bit, or doing this like waiting for them to load, and I'll just pump out some squats or something. And it just keeps me moving. It's almost like monkey bars or jungle gym or something. A lot of the time, I'm not doing a sexy move on it. I'm using it as a prop, like to lean or to stretch with. And once I've done that for a little bit, and maybe my adrenaline or whatever hormones start getting me excited, or maybe just the right track comes on, then absolutely, yeah, then I'm just going to be like hair flick and body roll, and it does make me feel so empowered. And that's the cliche that people talk about with pole dancing. It's like it's not empowering. It's, why is the word escaping me? It's oppressing. It's not the right word. I can't think of either, but demeaning. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say.
We know what you mean. We know what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And it's like anti-feminist, and that's really never been my experience with it. Like pole dancing, it's about how I feel. Like I get strong, and I feel alive in my body. And I think that one thing that kind of really clicked when I started doing pole and then stuck with it, and I transitioned slowly from doing the fitness pole to doing a bit more sexy pole to doing full on like slinking on the floor with heels and like, basically burlesque on the floor or on a chair or whatever, and then also on a pole, and really taking it to that striptease kind of sensuality. It took me a while, probably several years, before I really even felt like I was enjoying that. I just wasn't interested, maybe, or I was too closeted, or I was too, I don't know what it was. But for me, that came a lot later. Some people are attracted to pole because they want to feel sexy and womanly. For me, I just thought, this is a cool fad. Wow, look at that girl spinning. That's amazing. I want to spin too. And then when I started to like that, it was like a mental shift. I'm like, who am I now? I'm enjoying slinking around like a caterpillar on the ground and like, humping the air. This isn't me. And just to feel that transformation made me kind of so much fell into place. So I was like, oh, I only got then to this point where now I can dance anywhere. It doesn't have to be a pole. Like I feel great dancing in the club. I feel very free in my body. It doesn't always have to be a sort of performance. It's just I feel not shy, not embarrassed, not contained by this body, which why should I? Like this, we all have different bodies and we're here to like body about in the world in them. And pole just was that key for me. And there are other people perhaps that had that kind of realization through some different pathway, but it was like, oh, we hold ourselves back with these kinds of like boxes and shame and what you can do and you can't do. And that actually stops you from getting to other places that you want to go. Like I wanted to be good just dancing at the club. I wanted to be able to do jazz or hip hop or ballet or something. But it was actually for me, pole is what broke the ice to then make me feel free in my movement. There was almost too much restriction before. I couldn't even do hip hop or ballet because I felt like, oh, I'm showing off, or I shouldn't move my hips like that or something, and just, yeah, pole really changed so much about how I approach my relationship with myself, with my body, with other women, with just challenges and things that I don't understand. Pole was kind of like that gateway drug, if you will, to just like, wait, we have to let go of all of these ridiculous insecurities that we have because the gold is on the other side of that.
Yeah, I love that so much because that can be an analogy for so much, right? So many things. I mean, you're specifically talking about pole, but that could be anything from going live on Facebook to,
Yes.
opening up your own business to, doing something, leaving an abusive relationship. Like there's so many pieces. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. So many parts of what you just said to transform to pretty much anything that we can talk about today, which I think is so important. And then even taking it to, like you say, you kind of do a little dance and you get a little groove and then you start working and then you need to take a break and you do it again. And when it comes back for me for health, and I always say, get outside as often as you can, move your body. If you're struggling creativity, if you're struggling, with anger or sadness or whatever, move your body, right? It doesn't matter how you move your body. It could be a dance party in the kitchen while nobody's watching. It could be a pole, it could be a walk, it could be whatever. And so the fact that you have it right there is incredible because then you could just turn around and do your little thing and then come back to work and get back into your creativity, which I love so much. But yeah, that is amazing. All right. Well, it has been so great to talk to you, but let's somebody's sitting here being like, holy crap, I need to speak to this woman. Where can people find you? Where are you? Are you on socials? What are we looking at? How do we find you?
Yes, you can find me on social media. I'm on a bunch of the platforms, not all of them, but you'll find me. Check out Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook. I am Georgia Gmo, so Georgia like the state or the country, and Gmo like Nemo the fish, but with a G. So that is my username anywhere. And check me out. Just follow me there. You'll see me talking about all this kind of stuff. I like to make reels. I like to do long form text posts sometimes. I have a maybe Medium or Substack or something that's going to be launching where I get to do more in-depth writing. I've got an email list, obviously. So all these kinds of places. The best place to find them all is start at social media. Find me, check out my link in bio, and from there you can see all the stuff that I'm up to.
Excellent. Well, and we'll have all those links in the show notes. So take a look. You can click on one of them. Do you do any poll examples on like your TikTok and stuff? Have you
Oh
ever done any
yeah,
dancing?
I find it's a really fun attention grabber. Like people are always saying, find a scroll stopper, for your content. So I do often just give tips and tactics and things while spinning around the pole or something. So
I
you'll
love
totally
it.
see some of that, yes. And some of the things that I spoke about today as well, I want to just flag if you're more interested in learning about how I teach AI, how I use it. I've got a bunch of free lead magnets and things like that in my link in bio. Check out my, what is it called? Meet my team of AI coworkers and hire them yourself for free. That is a fun one where you get to see all the little bios and profiles and skill sets that I've sort of written as instructions you can copy and paste and use. There's also a new 5-day challenge that I recently launched, which is called Take Back Control. And it is about learning how to use AI ethically and responsibly and sustainably and things like that. So if you are worried about, you don't know where to start, maybe check out the Meet My Team AI. And if you are using it already and you want to figure out how to do it in a way that aligns with your values more, then check out that challenge.
Yes, I love that. In the notes, you'll also find both the AI team as well as the 5-day challenge. And I think you nailed it right there. Is that some people are really kind of stuck and frozen in this space because they don't know how they fit into it in terms of the ethics, the morals, the environment that people talk about, all of the things. So I think it's wonderful that you're showing people that not only can you use AI, but you can also do it ethically, moral, and figure out how it fits within your world. And I always say, I do the AI images for people. And of course, if they have a weight loss goal, for example, I can create an image of them at their goal weight. And I always say, if that makes you feel like shit, that is not a good use of that image. And I think it's really important that everybody, I'm very motivated by my, not bodybuilder look of me because I've never wanted to be like that. But there is a image on me on my vision board that has more muscle and, I'm wearing a tiny bikini and all of these things that motivates me. But if it doesn't, that's really where it's important for you to understand kind of your own morals and ethics. And then of course, we won't go into this, but I'm sure your 5 day challenge does is, being morally and ethically sound for your own work, right? I don't use any of those images to sell my products because that would not, in my opinion, be moral. So it's finding what works best for you. And there is always going to be people who treat things incorrectly. We know this. This is, I always say, I don't think it's an AI conversation. I think it's a human being conversation. However, we'll put a pin in that and you can go and take a look at the 5 day challenge and see where you say, but know that, either myself or if you want questions or you have questions about AI and you're not sure where to start or you're not sure what to do, definitely reach out, take a look. I am heading over to your TikTok to see some pole dancing because that's exciting to me. But it was so fantastic to have you on. I very much appreciate it. And I cannot wait to see all the fun things that you have, especially with the power of these groups of people that have just really had to struggle. And now it's like, nope, we got Georgia on our team. She's on our side. She's helping us out. And, we need these people out there as well because they are the ones that are changing the world. So thank you. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate having you on. And guys, if you have any questions or you want any of the information that Georgia was talking about, please, please, please check the show notes because all the information will be there.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Yeah, amazing, guys. All right, till next week. We'll see you later. Bye.